Welcome to Riding the Trauma Train, or welcome back if we've shared this space before. I'm Lydia, your host and fellow passenger in this journey of self-healing, inner strength and personal growth. This podcast is a safe, judgment-free space dedicated to the realities of living with and healing from trauma. Through personal stories and in-depth conversations with special guests, including therapists, healers, practitioners, and fellow survivors, we look at what healing can truly look like in everyday life. We explore realistic healing journeys and share simple, sustainable practices and actionable tools to support your well-being along the way. So grab your ticket, take a seat, and remember, you are not on this journey alone. Welcome to Riding the Trauma Train. I'm Lydia, your host and fellow passenger in this journey towards self-healing, inner strength and personal growth. Today, we have Dr. Robb Kelly, an addiction and recovery coach specialist, expert, all of the above, with PhDs and his own recovery group business. I don't know if it's a business, but you can explain it all. And also an author of a book called Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking, which kind of hit me in the gut a bit, to be fair. So, Dr. Robb, thank you so much for joining us on Riding the Trauma Train.
Oh, thank you, Lydia. Great to be here. Hi, guys. It's going to be a great one. Sit down.
So, could you, obviously, I've not done you justice. You have got PhDs and coaching things coming out of your ears. Please, can you tell us a little bit about your professional side, first of all, and then we'll delve into the other bits and pieces after.
Hey, guys. My name is Dr. Robb Kelly over here in San Antonio, Texas. But as you can tell by my accent, well, maybe Manchester, England is where I was born, about 250 miles from Lydia, probably something like that. I've been in America for 20 years. Came over here for 3 weeks to do a medical seminar and never went back again. We run a very, very huge neuroscience stroke, psychology stroke, behavioral science company. We have 5 offices. We have Manchester, London, San Antonio, Dallas, Switzerland, Spain. I'm in San Antonio. I never classed that one. Multi-million-dollar company. We work with A-list celebrities, government, CIA, FBI, all them guys. We have a sliding scale. So we work with people like me, the working class from the projects or the council estates. 11,000 patients in right now with 20, 25 years of doing it full time over the time. But yeah, I mean, it's just, we're healing people. And the reason why we're healing people is, like, so say addiction, alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism. The same with every other addiction. It's not the problem. And trauma itself is not the car crash or the divorce. It goes way deeper than that. As a child, when something small happens to us, parents normalize that and it affects us 20, 30 years on. Well, we don't think it's got nothing to do with the way I act today. And the truth is, it has 100% to do with the way you act today.
Wow. That's a very big nutshell. It's like a world of a nutshell.
Yeah. Yeah.
I find it really interesting that you are worldwide, and every time I've listened to you, I just literally just thought you were up in Manchester. So it took me a little while to delve into exactly where you were. You have got a lot of professionalism. You've got a lot of kind of education and academia behind you. You have kind of done like a roller coaster, I suppose. You were born, I think I read you were born into a musical family, and then you were really, really good with your education, and then you hit rock bottom. And when you hit rock bottom, you've literally built yourself from the ground up.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that, please?
Yeah. So I was lucky enough to go to college. Nobody in our family or nobody from the council estates go to college, special choice prestigious college. But it happened through a Freemason friend of mine. That's all I can say with that. So yeah, I mean, I was on stage at the age of 9. Also, when I took my first drink at the age of 9, Liverpool, on stage with my auntie and uncle playing professionally Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but earning money, so professionally. Went through normal school and got a chance to go to college. And yeah, I mean, I was doing good, but I was drinking every day in college. And then after that, I joined the police force because most of the guys in my lodge were high ranking police officers. And then still doing good, got fired in the police for being drunk on duty because now alcohol had taken over completely. Trauma is rife in my life, but again, it took a lot of work to find that and clear that up because I was just self-sabotaging time and time again because it was lodged in the subconscious brain. which we'll get into later. It's very clever, the studies. So we've done about 1.5 million on studies and trials and research on addiction, childhood trauma, depression, anxiety. And we're just doing some early work on Alzheimer's. Yeah, it's after college. So I left college and all that homelessness came after that. But the way it happened was horrific. I mean, I stabbed my wife 3 times one night because she wouldn't let me finish my bottle of vodka. I left the 2 kids, in cinemas while I went drinking. Oh, it's just a nightmare driving from London to Manchester, 90 miles an hour, drinking a bottle of vodka while the 2 babies are strapped to the car seats in the back. Just insane behavior because I was insane with the disease. And then, we'll get into it shortly, but, did marry, 2 kids taken off me, all this crazy stuff happened, fled to Spain. There was a warrant out for attempted murder on my wife. And I came back and and I became homeless. And it was like, I'd done really well from where I come from. Because the estate that we grew up on was called the Racecourse Estate. And they call it Strange Ways Waiting Room. It was just terrible, violence and stuff. But I was a bodybuilder. I was a fighter growing up on the streets of Manchester. You've got to be one or the other. You can't be weak. So I survived on the streets and it was just horrific. So later on in life, I had my PhD psychology, but I wanted to do, because of my studying, a second PhD in behavioral science. So I actually did it at Southampton University online from here, from San Antonio, with all the education. But I love what you said before, Lydia, is that all the stuff behind me from prestigious universities doesn't mean nothing when I'm stood in front of a patient who's dying of something, childhood trauma, whatever it is. They
Yeah.
don't mean nothing, because if you haven't gone through what they are going through, you cannot help them. Because when people are in that, the psychology of the brain and the neuroscience of the brain is intricate, but it all makes sense when you start studying it. And then most people that go through the stuff that you and I have been through, they don't survive it because the brain cuts off and goes, I'm out, I've had enough. And then, suicide start and stuff like that. So it's been an education and a journey. What I took from the homelessness and the council estates is, first of all, I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about me. Let's get that out of the way. So if you want to make a comment, it's fine. Go ahead. I don't care. People think I do, but I don't. I'm in a great place. It's great. But secondly, I was sick of watching people die from trauma, from past trauma, because nobody knew what they were talking about. Nobody knew that I had alcoholism and how to treat it. Just stop drinking, Rob. Just go to AA, Rob. It's like, if it was that easy, I'd do it. So when I got off the streets, I was angry at the medical fraternity because nobody had an answer. They still don't have an answer. 30 years on, they've no idea what alcohol is. They think if you drink too much alcohol, you become an alcoholic. That's not true. So we've had fun. We're over here. I'm 65 years old now. And somebody said, are you close to retiring? Probably another 30 years here before I retire.
Can you really retire from helping people? You can't, can you? Once it's there, you can't change that. I think a lot of what you've said, especially with the alcoholism and with it isn't the substance itself, is it? It's literally what is going on in your brain, because it doesn't have to be alcohol. It could be alcohol. It could be spending. It could be food. Me, it was food. It was almost a way of self-harming without physically self-harming.
Yeah, and that's what people don't understand. Now, alcoholics are born and addictions are created, are made. It goes deep to fetus and hypothalamus gets involved in the alcoholism. But the addiction, yes, it's just, if you're taking drugs or going shopping, there's no difference. In fact, we've done some tests around, let's say, uh, a woman in a violent alcoholic house, husband comes home a couple of nights a week, beats her. She thinks she's okay and everything's good. But when we check the levels of PTSD from 10 housewives in violent houses, and we check the PTSD levels on soldiers coming back from Afghanistan, they were identical. The PTSD was identical. Both didn't know if it was going to be the last day, both walking around on eggshells during action. I mean, it's just crazy. So we delved into this because it was like, we thought the brain was hardwired. We thought that our past didn't really matter. It didn't affect the brain. And it's like, when we found out, it was like, oh my goodness, makes sense today because I do A, B, and C because of A, B, and C. And like I said, back then it was normalized. My mum and dad used to drop me off. And this is a British thing. Drop me off at their friends Friday night. We'd stay over, they go get drunk, celebrate the end of the week. They'd come back Saturday, pick us up. No problems. This couple, married couple that looked after us, also looked after 3 or 4 other couples. So we'd all get dropped off at their house. When the last car of the parents pulled out, we had to play what's called a run around naked game, where all of us got dressed, including the adults, and they'd run around and chase us around the house and tickle us. I didn't know that was sexual trauma. I didn't know I was devastated by that as I grew up, and it affected my intimacy with women. I didn't know anything about that. I thought it was normal. And that's the stuff that intrigued me. It's like the stuff that you don't think bothers you. Because we all say this today. He said this. I don't care. I don't. Yeah, we do. It takes a lot of work to be where, me and millions are that. We don't give a shit what you think about us. We've been through hell and back. You think I give a shit about what you say to me online behind a keyboard, sat in your parents' house, 45, and the kids don't want to see you? You think I give a shit about what you say? I don't. I've got more important things to worry about, you know? Like, has the dog gone out today? Or is the car, I've got enough gas in it or petrol? It's crazy. But when you get into the subconscious brain, every secret or every myth or every truth is in there. And once you start bringing it out, quality of life gets better and you heal.
You did just say something about the fact that your brain, I think it's the word neuroplasticity. Is
Yes.
that the word? So what happens then if you had something that you didn't know was, I think if a child is told to sit down and be quiet, obviously in the 80s, that's what you did. You sit down,
Yeah.
you shut up, you don't say anything. Does that then come out in a way that is going to affect people speaking up for themselves? Is that how that
Yeah.
kind of trauma would play out? Because I
Yeah.
suppose that there's so many different types of trauma and so many different responses to that trauma, that things that happened when you were little, like for me as a child, I had some quite severe childhood trauma, but then I had little things that for me, like you just said, I didn't feel like it mattered. I didn't
No.
feel like, oh yeah, whatever, you just got a slap around the face. But actually, the fear of having something in my face now is a
Yeah.
quite a big thing.
Yeah.
But until you just said that, I didn't actually think of those kind of little concepts, I suppose.
Well, the subconscious brain is where all the bad stuff is. And most of us come out of the subconscious brain with a prefrontal cortex, which job it is to come up with a solution. So prefrontal cortex screams at the brain, give me an answer to this solution problem I have, give me a solution. Most of the time, if you have done your work on your childhood trauma, it comes out the subconscious brain, which means it's always wrong, which gives you the idea that you're never going to be tall enough, blonde enough, rich enough, or thin enough. That's the part of the brain that self-sabotage. So when you get, let's say, a small child growing up in an alcoholic house, and I use alcohol, guys, because it's just easier to explain. A couple of nights a week, she sees mum and dad. Dad comes home drunk from the pub, and she sees mum and dad getting into a fist fight a couple of times a week. And she watches this violence. Then we all go to bed. They get up next morning, and the little kid hears mum and dad go, "Oh, I'm sorry about that. I love you. Oh, I love you too. It's okay. It's okay." What the child takes from that is violence equals love. So when she leaves the house many years on to go to college or whatever, she will attract the same guy that ends up beating her and probably has an addiction. If she attracts a guy that starts treating her well, she will self-sabotage that relationship because it doesn't feel good. She doesn't fit in. So we go back to that comfort zone that was learned at childhood. That's the comfort zone we stay in. And most people do this all of their lives because to change the way you think is hard and it doesn't feel comfortable. So when we have then learned behaviors of, children should be seen but never heard. I think that's what
Mhm.
my parents used to say to us. So it affects communication when you grow on. Basically, neuroplasticity is replacing thought patterns, neural pathways with healthy stuff. So we come out the conscious brain. So 300 neural pathways-ish die every day in the brain. What are we replacing them with? Are we replacing them like the breath box that we had is another company now, but it restructures brains with subliminal messaging. You put headphones on. Or are we repeating the same cycle as we were taught? Because if as a toddler, we walk around the kitchen and mum says, don't put your hand on that stove, it will burn you. Well, what do? Put the hand on the stove and it burns me. What's the lesson the kid learns from that? Whatever mom says is true. And we keep that belief as we grow up and move out the house until we get burned in public when people does us wrong so many times. But then we blame ourselves. This is also part of it. When we do something that's not that bad, but people blame us and people say, we're a piece of crap, we'll never learn. The brain changes into that format, neuroplasticity, so that you'll never achieve what you want to achieve. And the truth is, you can achieve anything that you want to achieve. I mean, well, surely, no. Well, I can never be an actor. Who's put that there? Somebody's put that there. I want to apologize to you for that. And that's your core belief that you'll never be anybody. But what if you could? What if you can train the mind, because that's what runs everything, energy, can't see, touch it, inside the brain, mind over matter, the brain's matter. What if you could train this guy first thing in the morning for greatness, for love, for kind, for peace? Well, we can. So if we get this right and we wake up, it will program the brain to have the day that you want to have. So if you get up in the morning and say it's going to be a great day, you're right. If you get up in the morning and say it's going to be a terrible day, you're right. Because that's what the mind will program into the brain. And then we take our surroundings. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. We're influenced by the 6, 7, 8, 9 people around us. How do we know this? Well, again, everything we say, we've experimented on. So we paid 9 actors to come into our waiting room reception. And they were told, here's $100, drink a cup of tea, and we'll call you in. But every 45 seconds, you'll hear a buzzer. When the buzzer goes, I want you to stand up for like 5 seconds, sit down. That's all you need to do. Keep doing that, and we'll call you in as patients. Then I had a real patient come in. Then we promised a session on this new breath box that we've got, software. The stage was set. First buzzer, the 9 people stood up. She's on a phone, looks up, back to the phone. Sat down. All the 9 people stood up. Now the phone's in her lap and she's looking around at everybody and they sit down. 45 seconds later, so we are 3 minutes in for change of behavior. 3 freaking minutes in. She stood up with everybody else and she sat down with everybody else, which was interesting. As we called the actors as if they were patients back to the back of the offices, she was the only one left in the waiting room. She stood up. And that's how the brain works. You're influenced by the people around you. You know, if you're hanging around 9 depressed people, you will become the 10. You don't mean to, you don't want to, but the mirroring part of the brain picks that up and you become that person when you haven't done your work. Once you do that work, you become a leader in the community, in your family, in the business, whatever it is, and people start to follow you.
It's incredible because I think there's so many like analogies you can come from that. Like mind over matter, that's the first one. Then you've got, I think is you are the 5 people you surround yourself. That's another kind of saying. But I've seen it. I've seen it in people that surround themselves with other negative people, and
Yeah.
it's literally like a negative wave.
Yeah.
So I think if you are somebody that or is in that kind of space, it's even harder to then pull yourself out and then harder again to
Yes.
try and flip that on its lid.
So you need to, well, I tell people, you're fishing in the wrong pond. You need to go out and fish somewhere else. You ever seen an alligator, climb a block of flats? No. Why? It's not his niche. Doesn't do it. Take him in the water, it'll kill him in 2 seconds. So why are you
Yeah.
trying to climb a building with these negative guys when your guys are over here doing the shit that you always wanted to do? But you can do it with these guys. So it takes a strong person to step away from that circle and surround yourself because of the trauma. And people with trauma want to bond so quickly. We want to be liked and fit in. It's like over here. There are lots of deer where I live. They come in the garden. We feed them and stuff. But if anybody has seen a deer being hit by a car but doesn't die. Like unbelievable experiment. We didn't hit a deer, but it was research around this. What happens is the car traveling down the road, the deer tries to cross, hits the deer. The deer is on its back or side on the floor. And what happens next is a miracle. The deer will stay still for 1 or 2, 3 seconds, maybe 5 seconds, and then it jumps to its feet, and then it shakes violently for 2 or 3 seconds. That's all the trauma from that accident gone. So the deer at the same time, at the same age, might cross for the same, I don't know. But what I'm saying is human beings don't do that. We don't shake it off. We don't seek treatment, the right treatment. I mean, if you're seeing a therapist for 12 months and you're still the same fat, stop it already. That's about the money. It's not about getting you well. You know, well, we'll see you next week. You can't get people well by seeing them every 7 days. We see them every single day for an hour. Repetition strengthening confirms, says the basal ganglia. So the new behavior and the way we talk to ourselves, therefore external dialogue, not inside dialogue, changes the way you are. But there's a piece, and you'll know this, Lydia. The guys on the race course where I came from and the movie star rich people here, when I left this part here and I earned my first million over here, what happened is you left in kind of a zone where these guys don't really trust you because you come from nothing. And these guys on the race course, they don't trust you because now you're all high and mighty and you don't want to know them. But it's not the case. You see, I can go back to Manchester and I can help people. I just can't live there anymore psychologically because I'll get dragged into that stuff and my subconscious brain will, hey, this thinking and abuse, it feels right. It feels amazing. So there was a girl in Manchester, 1969, got snatched off the side of the road, 15 years old, school uniform, blonde hair, blue eyes. There was a huge manhunt and the press went crazy. After 2 or 3 months, they can't find her. So she was presumed dead. 9 months later, a police car is following another car down a country road back in the day. He had a broken back line. So he stops him. And back in the day, you used to know it's somebody's car because you used to say, okay, it's your car. What's in the trunk? What's in the boot? Oh, yellow jacket, pair of boots. Open it, yellow jacket, boots. It's his car. But he was cagey. So when he opened it, they found one stolen screwdriver. Back in the day, you had to tear the thing. The thing was still on, he had no receipt or nothing. So now allowed to go back to the house to search. And sure enough, lawnmowers, drills, ladders, that he'd stole thousands of pounds of equipment. But they come across this box. It's like 4 foot wide by 12 foot wide by 4 foot high. And they say, what's in the box? I don't know anything about a box. I don't know who put that lock on. So they say, we know you've got more stolen stuff. So they smashed the lock off and they opened this big, huge box. There was the girl who went missing 9 months ago. He used to take her out every day, abuse her, bath, feed, restroom, back in the box for 9 months. She was alive, but she was bruised and battered. The policewoman leant over and she helped this little girl get out the box. When she was out, she took a police coat off and she wrapped it around the little girl. What's the first thing the girl did? She got back in the box. And
That was your safety.
that was a safety. That was the place, even though it's terrible, even though there was violence, it became a comfort zone that she'd rather stay there than face the unknown. And psychologically, you get into that, like the Japanese prisoner of war, you get into that headspace where you can't live where you're in that box. So it's crazy that repeated behavior that we do is what we do with our lives. So we tell our patients, you have to smash that box. You have to be brave enough to step out of that box and move forward, because when you do, and when you find your identity, most people don't know their identity. It's in their marriage, it's in their work, it's in their kids. Once them things stop, Jimmy round the corner, he's spent 35 years at this company. All of a sudden they go broke and he's fired. He has no idea. His identity was that job for 9 hours a day with people. All his work family. No one's your family at work. You walk around on the same piece of carpet for 8 hours. Behave yourself. But all of a sudden he's lost. Women coming out of marriages, his football team, his mates. When we come out, the women, 9 out of 10 times, they don't know. They're lost. They don't know our identity. And it's scary. So we stay in that relationships way too long. We stay in them jobs way too long because we can't face the unknown. That's trauma.
It makes perfect sense. It's what really, really just confuses me, I suppose, is the fact that even though we know it's dangerous, even though we know that it's a negative response or a bad behavior, because it is a pattern that is innately so deep in our subconscious, we still repeat it. And I've just find that absolutely fascinating, because it's almost like you've got two sides of yourself. You're trying, you want to do this bit, but you're automatically doing the other thing.
And that's the conscious and the subconscious brain. They're always fighting to take control of your life today, because we only have 24 hours. So the brain is always fighting. So neural pathways, there are billions, but neural pathways and the basal ganglia, if you can imagine a clock face. Say a pilot needs 10,000 hours in the air to fly a commercial jet. It's been around the basal ganglia so many times it becomes a working part of the brain. That means that he could get on that plane and almost do it with his eyes closed. That's like autopilot, take off on the land where it's down to hit. He's done it so many times it becomes a working part of the mind. It's don't have to think about it. It's the same with trauma. It becomes a working part of the mind. So most people live out the subconscious. But we have a method. The subconscious brain wakes us up. Here's the science behind this, guys. You're going to love this. So the subconscious brain, for instance, wakes us up in the morning. Why does it wake us up in the morning? Well, in the normal circadian sleep pattern, between the hours of 2 and 5 is when the body is at its lowest. It's also when most people die of natural causes. When the body is at its lowest, oxygen is at its lowest while the repair's being done. So when we wake up, we lack oxygen. So the presence of oxygen equals the lack of disease. Every disease in the human body comes down to lack of oxygen, hypoxic area, where the disease is born. It comes down to what we've been poisoned by, toxicity, and it comes down to deficiency. What am I deficient in? Because I can't methylate that. So this guy wakes us up. All right. How do we get rid of this guy? We have a method. It's breath work, mirror work, teeth work, which we call. And what happens is, bang, that guy's gone, because the brain and the body full of oxygen, because we get you to do the 20 exaggerated breath in and out. Now this guy is going to have a great day. He's going to do something, go for that job, marry that girl, buy that house, go for that. This guy is on fire. But the subconscious brain is like this. And any little thing that we can grab onto and run the brain again, it will do. Most people that come to us, Dr. Robb, I've had a really bad day. Really? Was it a bad day? Or was it 5 minutes that you strung out all day? Lydia, it's always the 5 minutes. Because they stay in the subconscious brain once you run it. You don't have to live that way. It's one of the reasons at 65 why I'm still doing this. It's not for the money. I could have retired 10 years ago. We give up most of our money away, but it's to change people. It's to educate people. It's to put people a better life. It's showing them that this is possible. And all the stuff in your brain from mom, from dad, from teachers, from caregivers that are telling you never amount to anything is wrong. Whenever I opened a British restaurant next to my office. It's called the Old English Tea Shop, fish and chips, pies, and everything to the exact reputed scones. People said I was crazy. You can't open a British restaurant in San Antonio. It's all Tex-Mex and Mexican restaurants, and you can't do it. My answer was, says who? So we opened. I brought my sister over from England and her husband. They've run it. 90% of our staff are British. I don't know how that happened. And it's a huge success. It's like, remember the two words, says who? You can't go for that, Jenny. Says who? And get serious about this stuff. Says who? Am I going to take your negative thought patterns of me and run that way? Or am I going to start replacing them 300 neural pathways every day and become a leader, and become strong and powerful, become a best dad, get your kids back like I did after 30 years. All this stuff is open to you, but you cannot hang around negative people. The mirroring part of the brain will suck them in. It will suck the life out of you. It will suck any chance of you creating something in your life. because they're in the box and you keep getting in and joining them in that box, and you don't have to.
Absolutely. So you call it a box, I call it a bubble. So, and every now and again, if I do get sucked in, I literally have to say, I need to burst this bubble, because
Yeah.
you can feel it. It literally overcomes your entire body. And I think what you said is really important. Says who? Those two words. I've had lots of people say to me when I started this podcast, why are you doing that? Well, mine was because I want to. I want to help other people. And they've also said to me, well, how do you know it's going to work? Or it won't work. And it is the same thing that you said.
Yeah.
Says who? And also, who cares? I don't care what other people think. Same as with, if you are somebody that has been through trauma, and especially if you're a people pleaser, your first reaction is to kind of hold on to what they're saying.
Yeah.
But I think you, like you said, you have to do the work in order to be able to find that moment that you slip off from them, or you cut off from that box.
Yeah, I mean, the quicker you find out, guys, the better. I was flown over to California many years ago when I came here, 15 years ago, to do a huge talk. And there was 1,000 people there, exactly, because you had to click in with the fire marshal thing. 1,000 people. My talk was inspirational. It was amazing. It was great. Uh, I came off and I was told before the gig that you have to put at least an hour on your day, because every single one comes up, shakes your hand, says thank you. That's just the way we do things in this meeting. Brilliant. 999 people said I was great and they was inspired. One person came up and said, I didn't like you were too aggressive and I thought you were shit. Have a guess who I concentrate on for the next 3 months, and they will be that one person. So when that happens, you know you still have childhood trauma. When the hardest thing, hey, Johnny, nice to, just something I threw on. I mean, it was nothing. I get, stop. Thank you are the two hardest words to say when someone is suffering from trauma. Great top, Rob, great shoes. Thank you. I remember that yes or no is a falling off answer. Why you keep, well, I can't go tomorrow because what's happened is my uncle's sister's dog. Stop that crap. Stop trying. You got nothing to prove to anybody or anything from today. When you see these podcasts, stop doing that and you'll live a better life. I believe in God because he saved me from the streets, but whether you believe in Uncle Jimmy, universe, I don't care what it is, but the power of the mind needs another power to connect to. That's just the way it is. When you change your thought patterns, neuroplasticity, psychology, behavioral science, your DNA changes. You're not the same person as you used to live over there with these negative guys. It's possible. We've researched it and we deal every single day. There's a paper, Harvard University, that I wrote for their psych hospital. So yeah, you don't have to, man. You can live your own life. When me and my wife got married 10 years ago, the next day was something silly happened, and she said something, and I said something, and I'd come out of a horrible marriage in England, and I'm like, do you know something, Janet? I ain't doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm not getting into an argument like this. I can't live like this anymore. And she said, well, that's just the way in the marriage is. And I said, this is where it came from. Says who? Who's making these marriage rules up that I don't want to do? So we created our own marriage. We created our own relationship based on who I am and who she is, and come together, And when you realize that you can do this, because I would hate for anybody to get to the age of 70 and 80 and realize these two things. A, there was nobody watching you. And B, you really could have done anything you wanted to do, because it's the truth. Stop believing that you're not good enough. It's a lie. Stop believing it. Well, I can't go for that job. I didn't go to college. What? It's 2026. Most people in high places don't go to college. Speak to Elon Musk. He won't hire anybody that's been to college. College degrees used to have a great ROI on them. They don't anymore. You have kids and computers in bedrooms earning 6 figures a year. Don't let people tell you can't do it. It's not true. Going now, Lydia. We're going now.
I think what you just said about that situation with your wife the day after you got married. So my husband and I, we have been together since we were 16. We used to bicker lots, as you can imagine, when we were younger, especially during my really triggering trauma years. And he has actually gone through my trauma with me and my recovery, I suppose. So it's an interesting concept to see the fact that even though that was only one day after you got married, you both realized actually this is our responses and this is what society thinks that we should be doing. So let's change the record, so to speak. I do want to just go back a little bit because you mentioned then about the fact of God, that you believe in God, which is an amazing concept. And I know that there's so many people over the world that believe in all sorts of different things. But for me, I remember reading or listening about the fact that you were on the streets, you were homeless, and you said that God spoke to you and said that you are going to be thousands of miles away. And I know that at that point was when you had nothing. You literally had lost everything. So I want to touch on that a bit, please, because I find it really interesting because that is from the place you were to the place you are now, helping so many people. I think is really important for people to understand.
So I was an atheist. Most I didn't believe in God. I still don't believe that I need to be in a church reading the Bible on a Sunday at 10 o'clock, get blessings of God. I don't have that God. There's 3,000 gods. I tell my patient, just pick one. It has to be something that you believe in, even in the dark moments, somebody you can converse with. It's really important. So I'm on the streets 14 months and I'm coming out of a blackout. My body's going into DTs, delirium tremors, which means I've got to get alcohol or, in the next 12 hours or hospital, otherwise I'll probably die. I'm at the back ends of Manchester, no houses, factories, offices only. It's 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. It's pouring down with rain. I dropped down to my hands and knees and started to cry like a baby, like the stomach ache. Now, I wasn't crying because I lost my children. I wasn't crying because I'd lost my house and my wife and all that stuff, or my parents and my brother and my sister. I was crying because the first time in my life, right there, I realized I couldn't stop drinking. And it took all of that. I remember looking up to the sky in the pouring rain, squinting, and just saying these words: if there's a God up there, I can't do this on my own anymore. About 30 seconds later, a guy walked around the corner. This is in Manchester. He'd missed his last bus home on his Bible study. So now it's midnight by the time he leaves. He misses it. He has to walk home, which is an hour and something. He takes a shortcut that he's never taken before, he tells me after. And he comes upon me. And he said, you need help. And I told him my situation. He said, I need to take it back to the house. I'm an alcoholic. I'm in recovery. I'm a Christian. So we go back to his house. I bathed for the first time in a year, maybe, shave all my beard off. And he said to me, I go to these meetings, these AA meetings, and you need to come with me. And I said, no, I'm good, Derek. I don't like them meetings. And he said, you've got to come with me, Rob. I cannot have you drinking in the house. So I went under duress kind of thing. I'm sat in the boring old meeting and the same old crap starts again. I drink up all the vodka. Halfway around, this guy said, my name's John. I'm a recovered alcoholic. I remember looking at him, looking at Derek, and I said, what did he just say? He said he's a recovered alcoholic. And I was like, you can't say that. I've been through all this crap and you're telling me I can recover from this? It's impossible. But it was making sense to me. After the meeting, I walked up to him and I said, hey, John, my name's Rob. Would you sponsor me? And he said, no. I was like, what? He said, but I will be a spiritual advisor for 12 weeks. Every single Wednesday, I'd leave Derek's at 6. I'd get there at 10 to 7. I couldn't knock on the apartment door until door until 7 o'clock on the dot. I'd go in, we'd talk about all kinds of stuff and philosophy and God and psychology. And at 1 minute to 8, mid conversation, he'd stand up and go, okay, it's time for you to go, Rob. I need to walk me out. Just thought it was this funny quirk he did. I did that for 12 weeks. And I remember the last night as if it was yesterday. He said, Rob, God's going to take you far away from the country. Your life's going to change from tomorrow drastically, Rob. Are you ready? This has been passed on to you to go around the world and educate people about this disease and everything that comes that way pertaining to the psych. He didn't say psych because that word wasn't around, but the head and our thoughts. He said, tomorrow your life's going to change. And I said, John, I love you. Thank you so much for this. But I'm in Derek's basement on a block mattress. Nobody knows I'm there. And he smiled at me and I thought, 8 o'clock, kicked me out again. The very next day, I'm cleaning up because that's my job, the house and stuff. And Derek comes home at lunchtime. Derek, what are you doing home? He said, the guy that sweeps the floor has just resigned, got into an argument or something with the boss. Do you want a part-time job sweeping the floor of the factory? And I was like, oh my God, yes. Didn't think of John. Off I went there. I got on with everybody crazy good. Turned into a full-time job in a couple of days. It's like, look, we need a full-time guy. I'm your guy. So the first pay packet I got, which back in the day was cash stapled to an envelope. I went to the petrol station, gas station. I bought John a little teddy bear so I could afford on a card. And I wrote on the card, thank you, John, for introducing me to God because he, capital H, took the compulsion to drink away. And I folded the card and went back to his apartment. And I'm so excited, Lydia, to say, my life has changed. I'm working with people. People are getting well. I can't believe what you've taught me. Get to the apartment, knock on the door, and no answer. I remember looking at the curtains, which seemed a bit dustier than last time I came. And it was only days, I think, a week, two. I don't know how long it was. So I'm knocking that hard that the right-hand neighbor came out in the apartment and she says, can I help you? And I said, yeah, can you tell me where John is? I mean, is he out or so? And she said, John who? And I said, your neighbor, John. And she went, well, I'm on night shift. I don't see anybody. I can't help you. So I moved around to the left-hand door and I knocked on the door and this big guy, what do you want? So where's John? Is he relocated? And he said, John who? And I said, John, your neighbor, what is wrong with you? He went on to tell me, half angrily, that that apartment is derelict. And if I was to walk into that apartment, I'd fall 2 or 3 floors and probably kill myself. I'm like, these guys are insane. I've been here 12 times. What the hell are you talking about? So I think it was the next night I go back to the meeting that I'd never gone before because I just didn't go back, you know? And when I went in, the chairman's like, Rob, I'm like, thank God for that. I thought I was going crazy. And he said, no, you're not going crazy. You're amazing, blah, blah, blah. Just what time does John get here? And he said, John who? I said, the guy was talking to at the coffee machine. And he said, and I quote, Rob, we thought you were praying because you were talking to yourself. We've never found that man. And when I started to get wealthy in America, I hired the best detective agency in Manchester. They could never trace him. Nobody's ever heard of him. But what he taught me is the reason we have a 98%, which is unheard of. The nearest one to us is probably 12% success rate. And that's how my life changed. And everything I touch, I've had crazy stuff happening. Like they overdosed me at the hospital with a back injury and I was dead for like, I don't know, a minute, 2 minutes. And it was just some of the stuff. I had cancer of the esophagus that vanished. Some of the stuff I've been through is give me the only option to believe that John was an angel. That's all. Because none of this stuff behind me makes any difference to me. What John taught me was some of the most miraculous healing methods that the world has ever seen. And it took me 15 years before I would tell that story. But when I tell it, Lydia, to people, some people, oh my God, I had the same thing. And they tell me their story. And now I was like proud of the story. I started telling everybody like what had happened, but that was my route over here. And amazing things happen today. And amazing things happen with my patients all over the world. It's amazing.
Ironically, you have just said that story, and I've heard that before. Now, I didn't know it was you. I didn't know, I don't even know what podcast I was listening to, but I can tell you now, I was doing a leg press in a gym because I remember the name Derek and I remember the name John and I remember that story. Like I just literally feel it in my bones. So I just find that really surreal. And 98% success rate is astonishing because my uncle died of alcoholism a very, very long time ago. And I remember him hiding bottles of vodka in boots and taking us to the park so he could have a secret tin of special brew in the park.
Oh, special brew. My God.
But I think, yeah, literally, I just, for me, 98% is amazing. How does that 98%, how does that equate to people that have been through trauma? Addiction and trauma do go hand in hand. And in my head, I don't understand why that is. How does the trauma and the addiction marry up so well? Because It baffles me.
So alcoholics are born drug addicts in age. So let's take alcoholism because there's three parts of the brain different. Alcoholics, it's a predisposition and we're allergic to the ethanol in alcohol. Let's take that away. Let's talk about any addiction. Let's talk about drug addiction. So 90 something percent of people that come to me with a staunch heroin, crack cocaine habit started in the doctor's office where they prescribe something for that, Adderall or, any kind of crazy stuff that they're on. And the doctor cuts them off because of his license and they go to the streets. If show me anybody who's an addict and I'll find their trauma because the trauma lives in the subconscious and the behavior. So the way we go into the drugs is believing that when I take this, it takes me away from all that subconscious trauma, which you don't even know it's happening, but your behavioral pattern will know. And we take more and more of it because we feel better when we take it. We feel as if we fit in. I remember my first drink on stage 9, my uncle gave it to me. I was so nervous. I drank that and it was like, oh my God, yeah, let's go. And some people feel that when they take the drugs and they can communicate with their other moms and because you always felt like this outcaster to life. That's how it starts. And so the addictive personality is what the drug addicts have. Okay. But it's so strong that it shows up like alcoholism, both hard, both can kill you, both, it's hard to get off, but both are real. But that's what happens. It's like it's based on behavior, it's based on childhood trauma, it's based on situations that you've got yourself in. You start taking these drugs, you feel so much better, and before you know it, dears, you're so addicted you can't stop. And that's what happens. It's like if your kid's coming home, it's big over here. I don't know about over there, Lydia. Now it's been 20 years, but thousands upon thousands, if not millions, allow their kids to come home from school. School's 3 o'clock here, you finish. So they come home at 3:30, 4 o'clock. They put the bags down, they go straight upstairs and they game for 6 hours. You show me a kid that's doing that, I'll show you a future addict. It's all about getting away from who you are.
Exactly that. They're either gaming, they're on their telephones, but they shut themselves out from their parents, their siblings, and I think you're right, the addiction and that kind of thing is isolation, isn't it?
I
It's something that can breed on the addiction can breed on that because it's you're getting something from something else. I think somebody else, I don't know who it was, explained addiction being you're either running to something or you're running from
yeah,
something, or
like that.
you're trying not to feel or trying to feel. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, it does. It really does. Because you don't like being you. You hate you for the stuff that's happened to you. But the quickest way to make somebody insane is to isolate them and take their identity off. So if you've got a kid in his bedroom, isolated. On his gaming console, his name's Mr. John. It's not called Mark, it's called Mr. John. You've took their identity off them. Do that over a repetition period, you start to believe that. So what we see is how we feel, and what we hear we're led to believe is true. So I see a sad movie, I might cry. Happy movie, I'm going to laugh. But what we hear, we build our character on. So by the time they grow up, most people today don't have communication skills. Yeah, I've seen people text across the table to each other. They have no communication skills. They don't know how to act in public. And we haven't seen the pinnacle of new devices hit society yet. We're just about seeing signs of it. You put them, take the phone off your kid for a day or lose your phone somewhere. Like, where's my phone? Oh my God, did I leave it in there? Oh, it's crazy how it
Yeah.
affects us, but we're in patterns. Now, you'll understand this. American people, they don't do this, but if you're at work or something and you go down to the seaside, all the guys or guys and girls, whatever, you have loads of drinks, you go on the fair, you have a fantastic day, you get back on the bus. What seat do you sit in? You sit in the one that you came in. Isn't that
Yeah.
crazy? Well, that's a pattern that we don't even know it's a pattern, yet we do it. Can you imagine how many other billions of patterns that we're in, and we have no idea we're in that pattern? So we cure addiction. Any kind of addiction we cure. We can't cure alcoholism because of the hypothalamus, and that's why it's a disease when the survival part of the brain hijacks all of the brain and tells me to drink alcohol to survive. That's why we can go days or weeks without food or water, and everybody around us we don't give a crap about because our mind is focused on that. So it's again this patterning cycle that you get in that needs to be changed. And if it doesn't change, you'll die.
That's it's like band mic drop.
Yeah. And people get pissed when I say that, you know. It's like we came up with a saying some years ago, and people were like that, you cannot say that. And now they're going, oh, it's like anything less than nurturing as a child is child abuse. When are you going to understand that, guys? We're supposed to nurture our children, not bring them home, stick them in the bedroom and, well, I don't like going in his bedroom because it's his private area. Okay, so when you find him dead in there, who do we blame? Well, we blame him and you, parents. There's no such thing as privacy if you think your child is going through bullying, if going through addictions, going through depression. All them better off, guys. You've got to nurture you. And now, oh, well, we all work. Yeah, we all work. And parents in these days are getting home between 5 and 6 o'clock, but your child is at home or your teenager's at home or you have three of them. You need to spend time with them and nurture them. Otherwise, somebody else or some other game will nurture them for you. And that never ends well.
No, absolutely not.
Another mic drop. Another mic drop.
Oh, how many can we get in? I think my girls are only 11 and 7, almost 8. And the phone conversation is a really big thing in our house. They don't have them, and we will keep them off them for as long as possible. I am trying to stop the generational trauma because of what I went through. I don't want to pass things on to them. So it's really interesting to see like the addiction concepts that you've been talking about, because even though mine was food, it's still running to a feeling or running away from a
Yes.
feeling.
Yes.
And I think that's the same with a lot of people. I want to ask, is there something that you can say to the audience that can be their first thing? What is the first thing you think if they feel like they're struggling with addiction or their trauma kind of place they're in? If they need help, what would you say would be a really good first step?
Start dialogue with somebody. As silly as you may sound, as weak as you may sound, you think you're the only one going through it. There are billions of people going through this shit. So start dialogue. It's hard to stand in front of somebody and admit that you are weak, which is not true, and you can't cope, which is not true. That's subconscious brain. But start dialogue. Once you start the dialogue, you'll feel as if a weight's coming off your shoulders. If you can speak to your parents, great. If you can speak to a teacher or caregiver, great. Don't stick there, man. And it takes a brave guy to step out. I mean, it really does. But then people start to follow you because you've stepped out and created this life that everybody wants. Like everybody's jet. I drive crazy cars. I drive a British car. It's like 300 grand for the car. So everyone's jealous about what I have, but nobody's jealous how I got here. So when you're in that situation of nothingness, guys, you can achieve all the stuff that you want in life. All the dreams that you have as a kid are there waiting for you to take the opportunity. But or suffering from addiction or depression or stuff like that, you're never going to get that. They're only dreams. They only become dreams. You just need to get help, talk to somebody. If you're in America, call us. We have a team that'll speak to you. Never try and sell you anything. I'm fine. Don't need any patience. We're not on air to sell shit. We're on air usually to give books away in America. One of my books that I've done. But yeah, start that. So I want to do two things before we leave. I want to give everybody a morning routine where it will change your life and change your patterning. And I want to real quickly tell you about Charlie, which is Charlotte, my eldest daughter, coming back into my life 30 years on, real quick. Okay, so 30 years on, I'm over here. Not seen him for 10 years in England, 20 years over here. I get a text in the middle of the night. Now, I'm a concierge doctor, which means that when I'm working with these CEOs, usually movie stars or footballers, that they pay an extortionate amount of money to come here. But it also means that if they text me 2 o'clock in the morning and they want to go to Spain or New York, I have a fixed base operator, which is a private airport that I need to get to. That's 20 minutes from my house. And I need to be on that plane within the hour. That's it. That's my contract. Bing, grabbed the phone, looked at it, squinted at it. And it was my daughter, Charlie. And she says, "Hey, Dad." She called me Dad. "I've seen you on TV. I don't believe what everyone's telling me. I need to see you. It's about time, and I've got something to show you. So we make a few phone calls, and within the hour and a half, we're on a plane back to the UK. I stays overnight in a hotel around the corner. My wife was like, are you okay? I'm crying. Oh, I can't do this, can't do this. All this stuff. He wasn't there for her first boyfriend. Sort of shit was you abandoned her, which I didn't. I was sick. So we walked to the door. I couldn't knock on the door. I'm shaking. She's holding me up, my wife. And all of a sudden, Charlie opened the door quickly, and we held each other. We cried. We laughed. It was just, it was probably, I felt like an hour. It's probably a minute, my wife tells me. And then she grabs me by the hand, and this, guys, is what's waiting the other side of what the shit we're going through. She walks me into the living room, and she handed me my 3-month-old granddaughter. Daughter is my lead therapist in the Manchester office today. So everything comes back when you want to step away from that shit. So a quick dialogue conversation with somebody, you get everything that we've got, and it just happens. Now, morning routine. Let's change your mind. Let's change everything about tomorrow. Remember the lack of oxygen, guys. Subconscious brain wakes us up. When we get up, sit on the bed or hold on to something, stood up, because you will go dizzy. We only breathe 45% of our lung capacity. The only reason that you feel good when you go to the gym is not the weightlifting. It's this in between sets. We're getting oxygen in. That's why we feel good. So in the morning, I want to take 20 exaggerated breaths in and out. It should look something like this with the face. Really get it in, get it out, get it in, get it out. What happens is it floods every part of the cells of the body with oxygen. Then I want you to go into now the conscious brain's alert. The conscious brain's ready to go for the day. Go into the bathroom. We have what's called teeth work. Let's start repatterning a cycle of the brain. If you brush your teeth with your right, I want you to do a week on the left, week on the right, week on the left, and a week on the right. Then I need you to stand in front of the mirror every morning as part of your routine. Stand 6 feet away from the mirror and say, I love you 10 times. Now, we're fitting and slamming the subconscious brain with good stuff. Don't stand too near the mirror, makeup, or shaving, because you'll see all your blemishes. And that's how you think people see you. And it's not. When's the last time you went in the office, guys? Hey, Billy, great. We don't do that. People see us from round about 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, when all the blemishes go. So if you do that every morning, you're not seeing blemishes, which is truth about yourself. You'll go out more confident in the day. If you do that for a week and it doesn't change you, first of all, you've not been doing it right. Or secondly, you want to be the exception to the rule because that's the way you were brought up, because it's an impossibility and a biological possibility that it doesn't happen. It will happen every single time.
Amazing. I love that. And I think if memory serves, that is also on your Facebook post.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. This is the last thing before we go, and it's what I've started asking everybody, and I'm calling it the conductor's question. Obviously, got to bring it back to train somewhere before. So, my conductor's question to you, Dr. Robb, is if you could sit with the Robb Kelly that was led on those streets and first boarded that train, what would you say to him?
I would say, I don't mean to spoil the ending, Rob, but everything will be okay. I would say, this is temporary. I would say, you were born for better things. And this is what you're going through is your training. It's your semester at Harvard. It's the learning stuff. Because everything I learned in that position psychologically and on the streets is what I use today. It's part of my bonding with another guy that's going through the stuff I used to get. And you see, the best compliment I get is, oh my God, you was an alcoholic? We go, yeah, right. Not anymore. We've solved that problem and we're moving on to greater things. That's what I would say.
Amazing. Thank you so, so much. And thank you to your team for reaching out to me. I am very blessed. And if anyone's been affected by this, I'm going to add lots of stuff in the show notes, and I'll put all of Robb's links in so that you can all reach out. So thank you again, Robb. Take care.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for joining me today on Riding the Trauma Train. I'm Lydia, and I feel privileged to share this space with you. No matter where you are on this train right now, whether it's in survival mode, slowly finding your feet in recovery, or maybe it's somewhere in between, remember, you are not alone in what you're feeling, and you do not have to travel this journey by yourself. So if you'd like to continue traveling together, please follow Riding the Trauma Train wherever you're listening, so you can join us at the next stop. Until next time, take care.